It was a cold November night in a small Iowa town where Emily Parker closed up her office. She'd been putting in extra time on a project, and when she finally shut down her laptop and left, the streets were practically empty. The town had some lights still lit from the store closings at night, but the hustle and bustle that normally filled the streets was lacking, with only a few solitary pedestrians and an occasional passing car. Emily was accustomed to braving the 10 blocks to her apartment. It was an old habit she had formed over years, skipping the annoyance of waiting for a ride. The path was known, well lit, and normally safe. But something was different this evening. The air seemed thicker, the quiet more still. The rumble of tires over wet roads sounded abnormally, and a sputtering street lamp cast nervous shadows along the sidewalk. As she walked onto the sidewalk, she sensed the burden of unseen eyes upon her. She looked around, but all was well. She shook off the discomfort and began walking. Her breath created small puffs of air in the chill as she wrapped her coat tighter around her. A couple of blocks in, she heard footsteps behind her. They weren't hurried, but they weren't relaxed either. Just steady, persistent, keeping pace with her. She gave a swift look over her shoulder and saw a man, wearing dark clothes, walking a few yards back. He wasn't close enough to appear threatening right away, but his presence bothered her. Something about the way he moved, his stance, the way his head was slightly cocked forward, made her skin prickle. Emily cinched up her bag strap and hurried. The man did the same. She remembered something flashing in her mind, a memory from years past. Her mother's warning. Always trust your gut, Emily. Fear is there for a reason. She wasn't typically a panicker, but something about the man's behavior made her feel uneasy. She ducked into a convenience store and feigned browsing the aisles, hoping the man would walk past. She picked up a bottle of water and headed to the counter, her hands shaking as she paid. She walked out of the store and looked around the corner. The man stood across the street, leaning on a lamppost, staring at her. Her stomach lurched. This was no coincidence. He was stalking her. Rather than going home, she reversed direction on a busier street. She took out her phone, talking as if in a call while entering a coffee shop. Inside was warm, comforting, until she looked out. The man was still out there. Now she was frightened. She couldn't go home, not when he was following her. I think someone is following me. Where are you? The coffee shop on Main Street. He's been behind me for 10 blocks. Stay where you are. I'm on my way to pick you up. Emily held onto her coffee cup, her hands shaking. Every few minutes, she snuck a look outside. The man had moved but hadn't left. He stood a few doors away, looking like he was checking his phone, but it was obvious that he was waiting. 15 minutes passed and Lisa came in, entering the cafe purposefully. Lisa, come on, taking Emily by the arm. Emily didn't protest. The two of them left through the side door and hurried towards Lisa's car. Emily fought the impulse to look back, but Lisa did so. Lisa, he's behind us. Get in. They locked the doors as soon as they stepped inside. Lisa peeled out of the parking area, making a series of fast turns to shake him. Emily glanced over and saw the man standing on the sidewalk, his eyes never wavering. Lisa took them to her apartment, where Emily at last exhaled the breath she'd been holding. Emily nodded, seeing the horrifying reality. If she'd walked home by herself, he could have followed her in. The following morning, Emily and Lisa visited the police station. Officer Grant, a middle-aged officer with worn-out eyes, heard Emily out as he wrote down what she said. He nodded but didn't look convinced.
Did he ever get close to you or say anything?
No, but he tailed me for almost an hour, and he was lurking outside the cafe.
I understand, but unless he makes a direct threat to you or attempts something, there isn't much we can do. We'll keep watch. Vary your routine for the time being, and if you see him again, call us right away.
Emily departed from the station upset. The law only responded after something has occurred, never prior. That evening she did not return home. She remained at Lisa's house, afraid to sleep by herself. She called in sick the next day at work, still disturbed. Let's see security tapes. The coffee shop and the convenience store should have them. If we can show he was stalking you, perhaps the police will listen. They went back there as well. The clerk at the convenience store was reluctant, but did offer to let them view the tape. It was creepy seeing herself on TV, watching the man arrive soon after and stay behind her. The tape clearly illustrated him waiting on the street corner when she departed. The barista at the coffee shop was more cooperative. She had seen Emily frightened the previous night. I noticed that guy outside. It was strange. He never entered, just hovered around. They got video from the cafe camera which caught the man standing outside. He was not merely a passing pedestrian. He had been waiting for Emily. They brought the evidence to the police.
Okay, this makes a difference. We'll set up a patrol in your area and see if we can identify him. If you spot him again, don't wait. Call 911.
7 days went by. Emily was still on her guard but was beginning to feel a little safer. There was no sign of the man. Perhaps he had lost interest. Then, one night, she spotted him again. She was walking to her car after work, parked outside Lisa's apartment, when she saw him across the street staring at her. A suffocating, deep dread wrapped around her chest. He's here. The man from last week. He's stalking me again.
Stay on the line. Officers are en route.
Emily continued on, attempting to remain in well-lit places. The man did not get closer, but he kept her in his line of vision. 2 police cruisers appeared within a matter of minutes, lights slicing through the darkness. The man caught sight of them and turned to go in the opposite direction immediately, but the officers were quicker. They detained him, interrogated him, and frisked him. He had a knife in his jacket pocket. Emily never saw him again, but for months she lived in terror, always looking over her shoulder. Because she knew that men like him don't just quit, they wait, and they always find another victim.